goodness, we have had all sorts of technical troubles getting here. Ben's mic didn't work. Jimmy is caught in high winds. So
What's happening?
it was almost a solo gonk. It was almost just me tonight, but it looks like we have got some stabilization here. Welcome, guys. Thursday night live stream. GFET, good to see you, my man. Welcome, everyone. It is, it's been a busy week. It's been a crazy busy week for me, Ben. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to unwind, have some fun talking about some really good episodes of Star Wars. Yeah, we're going to talk a lot about, I'm sure. And then also, we had some gameplay footage of Jedi Survivor, which I have actually yet to watch all the way through. I've seen some clips. So I think it'd be fun to kind of watch that together, and we could just react to it. And I think it'll be a nice little use of a Thursday night here with our friends. Off the top, for those who are just joining in, again, Jimmy is down. We miss him, but he is caught in some high winds. The internet is acting up, so he will be returning, I'm sure, next week. Once the weather cooperates with him, it's just that time of year. So, all right. Well, Ben, besides me, I know I've been busy. How are you doing, my man? What's going on with you?
A little bit of embarrassment, guys. The Fire Emblem character in the chat, that's actually me. I forgot to switch my accounts, which actually sort of a prelude to what I was been busy with this week, man. I basically kickstarted a new channel for gaming, for retro gaming, specifically Fire Emblem. So I thought, we're so preoccupied with Star Wars. We're so head and shoulders in it. Remember, we continuously talk about how sometimes we want to take a little bit of a break. That's what I've been doing. And, obviously when the footage dropped, my first impulse was to contact you, Jimmy, my other friends, and get to hear first fresh thoughts off the game. But I'm actually enjoying the fact that you kept it until this moment. I'm really excited to see what's going to be happening here. And other than that, I have been playing a game that just recently came out. I'll give you a wild guess what it's.
Oh man, you're treading on the Harry Potter controversy, man.
No, I'm in there, man. PS5. Let's see how it is. I just passed the intro section. Just want to see what it's all about.
Yeah. No, I definitely get it. I mean, I grew up reading Harry Potter, grew up with those movies. They were a big part of a lot of our generation's childhood. I've heard some really good things about the game.
So far, so
really
good.
Exciting. Yeah. I know there's a lot of controversy around it. I won't dive into that too deep.
We'll leave it to the other. Let other people do that. You and I, we're mostly gamers.
Everyone's entitled to their own feelings on that. I won't say who's right or wrong here, but let me share something that's kind of off topic as well before we get rolling with the amazing, exciting Bad Batch episodes. I'll call out a fun little non-Star Wars item that got me really excited. You guys know I'm a big Lego fan. We have my Havoc Marauder. We have my Mandalorian ship. Of course, with the Daily Bugle. We have R2-D2 and Darth Maul. So you guys know I love my Legos. I really am. And they showed this week. I don't know if you've seen this, Ben.
Yes, I have.
This is Rivendell, and it looks absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, man.
This is just incredible. This is it's like over 6,000 pieces, which is almost twice as much as my Daily Bugle. It basically take up this entire little display I have over here.
Have you pre-ordered it and you said?
It's not up. It's not up until March 3rd, but I got to tell you guys, it's going to be hard to resist. 15 minifigures, including the entire Fellowship. Let me get the other kind of angles in here. I'll go ahead.
Why are you getting the angles, Josh? Have you actually messed around with the Lego video games of the Lord of the Rings?
Yeah.
Were those good?
Oh yeah, they were good. All Lego games have an appeal to me, and a charm that I think is quite well executed. So of course with the main shot here, you have again just kind of on a white background. But look, you have like the whole Fellowship of the Ring, which is so cool. Really cool moment to see. Then you have 15 minifigures, which is a ton.
And the colors on those are just popping off, man.
On the back, they have kind of more interior sets, including the broken sword. We have a painting here of Sauron cutting the hand off. It's so good. I love it. And then some elves doing some forging. And then we have Bilbo writing his book. And Bilbo's minifigure, if you turn it around, he has the crazy face for when he kind of freaks out when he sees the ring again. So if you are a Lord of the Rings fan,
Bilbo's house as well, his homestead.
No, just that little set. Because you remember in Fellowship of the Ring when they get to Rivendell, Bilbo is there, and so they're kind of doing that scene again. But anyway, Lego is great. I love Lord of the Rings. I'm sure a lot of people here do. So I saw this week, and that was the cool non-Star Wars thing. I will tell you though, And there's been some fantastic Lego Star Wars sets. I would love a big setting like this, almost a diorama style building section of a building.
Put some nice lighting to it.
Yeah. I could think of some really cool locations they could do. Like, for example, they did the cantina from A New Hope, which was really cool. But that one you kind of had to open up, which again is really fun, but it's hard to display. Like this one, you could just put it, and with the colors and the tiles, I think it would pop really well.
Yeah.
So fantastic. Enough Lord of the Rings. I just was really excited about that.
Guys, look, if Josh abandons us and runs away to another IP, at least we know what his new channel will be called, so we could go and visit him.
I am Lord of the Rings is great. I'm sure everyone has a place in their heart for that as well. Star Wars, guys. Bad Batch.
Star Wars.
Phenomenal episodes. Just a call out here. I do have music in the background. I'm using a newer software, and it let me upload music. So it probably is too soft for you to hear, but if it's ever too loud, let me know. The goal is not for it to be overwhelming, just to help kind of fill the white space. But please tell me down below. Yes, I could definitely go live at Legoland if I could afford it. Golly, Legos are expensive. But back to the Bad Batch. Let me go ahead and change our. I'll change our background here, so we know what we're talking about. Let's get something Bad Batchy. Okay, I like this one. This is a good one right here.
Yeah.
Last night's episode was more than just an episode. Spoilers ahead, guys, just in case you haven't watched it yet. I hope you do. It is a two-parter. It's actually the mid-season finale, episode 7 and 8. The titles were The Clone Conspiracy and Truth and Consequences. And Ben, I know you. I hope you've seen the episodes by now, right? I mean,
of course.
Okay. Never know. I know you're a busy guy. I was really, really impressed with this episode. I mean, this two-parter. It almost felt like a short animated film almost. Took me back to some of the best moments of Clone Wars season 7, season 6, where some clones are starting to find out that things aren't quite right. There's that tension so it felt a throwback to the Clone Wars in the best way. And overall, give you an overall thought like I normally do, and then we'll dive into each episode. For a two-part mid-season finale, I thought it was phenomenal. I thought this was absolutely animated Star Wars at its strength. I thought it showed some really fascinating character dynamics and moments, and some of the politics at work in this early stage of the Empire. So I thought it was phenomenal. We'll talk about details later. What did you think, Ben? I haven't heard your thoughts yet, so curious if you.
Well, besides repeating your sentiment, which it's exactly how I feel as you do, I just want to kind of add an extra layer to it. For some reason, and I suspect it's mostly the visual aspect of particularly these two episodes, it also took me back to that hard Star Wars Legends vibe to it. Just something about these two episodes is so kinetic. It just pulls you in, and you sit in there. And I felt like I was submerged into 90s all over again. It's the backgrounds, it's the dialogue, it's the actual content of the story. When you start unwrapping it slowly, I actually watched it late into the night. It was like actually past midnight.
Okay.
And my eyes were glued to the screen. I wasn't even feeling sleepy because it had that feel to it. And, I told you before that in Dave Filoni, I trust. Even the episodes that I consider weaker in the show, they're still pretty strong. But man, when the Bad Batch is at its finest, it's the best damn Star Wars you will ever get, man.
Yeah,
right? And these two episodes represent to me that, look, we're back on track. No fooling around anymore. Let's get straight to the story. And it just goes straight to the heart of the fandom, man. This is how we like our politics with heavy dialogues. This is how we like our visuals. This is how we like our action. It basically checks off all the requirements, all the boxes for these to make like some of the best Star Wars I've ever seen, man.
I'll tell you, you call it the visuals, and I'm such a broken record on this, but I'm just continuously blown away. And every time I see a familiar location like Coruscant, but to this scale, to this level of like execution, I have to say it again. I'm like, oh my gosh, this looks so good. You go watch Coruscant in the early seasons of Clone Wars, and it looked fine for the time. I mean, do you compare it to now? Just the texture, the lighting, it's a class above. And I like what you said about the settings of the episode. Really kind of it almost reminded me of Andor in the sense of like the locations were almost ominous in scale, and it just felt very political, like a political thriller, that you would watch back in the day. And beyond the visuals, I thought the score was really, really great again. I mean, every time I talk about the Bad Batch, I call it out, but it's so commendable, like the level of excellence they've achieved and that you can expect when you're watching these animated shows. They are just absolutely perfectly executing the visuals and the music. And so, I absolutely am blown away every week by that. And where this episode took the visuals and I think had a fantastic story to tell alongside, I think that's why this feels so elevated. You have the technical excellence of the music and visuals, and then the story excellence of these two. And we'll start with episode 7, The Clone Conspiracy. This episode actually had very little Bad Batch. Real quick, I'm gonna talk about Nick's comment here. It said, y'all have friends or people who refuse to watch animation Star Wars? I do, and they are missing out. So I have friends. It's a great question, Nick. I have friends who I wouldn't say refuse. They just always are like, yeah, I'll get to that later. Like, they don't prioritize it, right? They I'll watch it someday. And I tell them the same thing. You're missing, I think, some of the best Star Wars storytelling we've had recently. And I'll let you talk about this too, Ben. But as we've talked about on the stream in the past, I can't imagine watching the prequel era anymore without the context added by animated Star Wars, both the Clone Wars and the Bad Batch.
Fair enough.
It added such layer that I don't even know, like, for people who haven't seen it, I'm like, no, I don't mean this in a gatekeeping way. I mean this in like, I feel bad for them way. Like, you don't have the full story. Like, you missed a lot of the story. Add in Tales of the Jedi to that. Some people, there's a lot of casual fans who have no idea, like, the complexity of Dooku. And so animated Star Wars is, oh man, it's so crucial. I feel now it's so crucial to having such a great appreciation for the prequel era. What about you, Ben? Do you have folks that you talk to who won't watch animated Star Wars?
Yeah, mostly the fans that I interact with on my Facebook group, the friends that I actually have in real life, like William, who's as big a fan as I am. He always enjoyed the animated shows, but I have some like online interactions where people are like, hey, you know what? I constantly hear stories where people are just jumping on the wagon. It's like, hey, I just started discovering because this on that episode is raving, and they slowly finding themselves overcoming certain things that just they don't like. For example, I understand people who don't enjoy the visual aesthetic of the Clone Wars, but once people get past that, it just unwraps so much in there. One of my friends, Daniel, who I follow on Twitter, we interact with him constantly. He just posted a very, very interesting, and I think very a meme that nails it. Basically, he puts 3 trilogies: prequels, originals, and sequels, and he says that the prequels is the one that has the greatest lore. And it's true that the prequel trilogy opened up the window to so many facets of this saga. Yeah, the battlefields, the politics, all the money and scheming going behind it.
The various races,
exactly.
Dynamics.
And that's what I feel like 3 shows consecutively, the Clone Wars, Rebels, and now the Bad Batch, they all, tap into that pool. Because, let's face it, the Bad Batch is the brainchild of the Clone Wars. Without that show, this would not exist. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And these 2 episodes are circling back to that era once again in a seamless way.
Yeah, well said. And it's a good question, Nick. And I think it's hard sometimes for, and out of not to dismiss my friends who don't make time, because you're busy, and like your 1 hour or 2 hours an evening might be, hey, I'm trying to read a book and I want to watch this movie and I'm trying to play this video game. And this just feels lower on the list. Like, oh, an animated show. Like, I get it. Yeah. Time is limited. But, I feel bad for people who've missed out on some of the animated Star Wars storytelling. Now, to episode 7. Very little actual Bad Batch in it, if any. I can't remember. I don't think maybe they came into the very, very end. But they're not really in this episode. Because this is focusing on the Senate and how we deal with the clones. And it introduced something that I will be honest, I know I make videos about Star Wars. I never claim to be an expert in all things. And I never noticed this before, or this was new info, but I thought it was fascinating, which is they bombed Kamino in the Bad Batch season 1 finale. But the story was, hey, actually it was a big storm that took everyone out.
Cover up. Yeah.
And I did not ever even think about what they told. I just assumed the Senate was so under control that they wouldn't question anything. They were afraid of the Emperor, and that if they wouldn't even speak out, kind of like you see in Andor. And so, no, they just flat out lied to him. They were like, no, it was a big storm, took out Kamino. And right off the bat, I was like, oh man, they tried to do a cover up. I didn't even think about that. Was that, that stuck out to me right off the bat. Like, oh, I can't believe I never considered what the story was about Kamino. I don't know. What did you think about that, Ben?
Remember how and Jimmy talked about how the Clone Wars show progressively grows and matures with its fans. If the first season sort of gave you this introduction, here's your popular heroes, this is a family-friendly, child-friendly kind of show, by season 3 or 4, you're like, hold on a second. I better check back with the wife if the kids can watch the sort of stuff, right? Because it's obviously not grotesque, nothing crazy is happening.
No.
Visually and narratively, some very dark things are happening there.
Yep.
I feel that specifically with these 2 episodes of The Bad Batch, we have reached a new height, a new ladder. It has matured and transformed once again, because we are now into the territory of adult, mature Star Wars storytelling. This is very akin to the Andor. This is very similar to when I spoke earlier about Star Wars Legends. If we talk about Michael Stackpole's X-Wing series, this is what it's about. I mean, this is so dark and gritty. This is basically the police state, right? Once again, parallels to the Nazi Germany, how the intelligent people of a country, the smart people, the educated, were misled by this zealot, by this fanatic. And he constantly is one step ahead. He's outmaneuvering them, and he's phasing out, discarding these human beings who are asking the questions, what are we to do now? We fought so fiercely, almost like Vietnamese soldiers when they were coming back from the war. They were pointing fingers at and criticized. And when you look at the context of the story, and if you know anything about world history, you can't help but think like, whoa, this is not for kids. I genuinely felt shocked watching it, man. I was like, I can't believe they did it. This is amazing.
And it's well said. Like, I know what you mean. It is for kids, but they won't understand some of the historical references, the undertones of what's going on here. So it has depth to where adults are going to be catching more than a child might, which is a good thing. I think it's cool that kids can kind of grow up and they rewatch it. They'll be like, oh man.
At one point, I actually wanted to add, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
The fact that it didn't have the Bad Batch only adds to the Bad Batch, because it's just like the format of the Clone Wars, where you tell a particular story thread, you put it, shelf it for a moment, and you move to something else, which is going to correlate to that later. So it's like a multi-threaded storyline, almost like, Quentin Tarantino style, where it's all gonna unite under one huge The Bad Batch banner at the end.
Yeah, and I really liked, we just called it out in chat, Senator Chuchi coming back was cool, a nice little throwback. It made a lot of sense. I like the fact that these senators, Bail Organa obviously is a big part of this episode, these good guys in the Senate, like, they're still trying to do things. They all didn't just lay down and die. And of course, we see that in Andor as well, which I think is really fun. Okay, so we have the premise. There was a cover-up on Kamino, and some of the clones are not feeling good about that. They're like, hey, man, wait a second. Like, we got to start speaking up, which makes so much sense. Like, I love the fact that, it was always kind of interesting that it felt like only some clones were questioning, and it was only these main character ones we were seeing. Like, we saw Cody earlier this season. We've seen Rex, the Bad Batch themselves. Yeah. I really enjoyed the fact it's like, no, like the nameless guys you don't know, or the other, like, of the thousands of clones, they were questioning things too. They were also seeing the writing on the wall. They all just weren't stupid following orders, or the chips. And the chip's effectiveness might not have been so long term, and so I like that right off the bat. And then, so that was really cool for me. Then we start seeing people get picked off assassin style, right? They said too much, you said too much, and you got picked.
Yeah.
And the tension's up. It's like, okay, who is this assassin? Is this Crosshair in some new armor?
What was your first thought? Was Crosshair?
No. So I thought it was like so my first thought was like, oh, it's some generic assassin. Like, he's got this nondescript armor. Mm-hmm. And then as he kept coming back, I was like, is he like Crosshair? And they're trying to show you like Crosshair's evolved. Like, now he's a full-on assassin. But they went somewhere really cool with it. We'll talk about that later. But I really like what they did with that. But anyway, the tension's ratcheted up, right? Someone's picked off. One guy gets away. And that guy just starts living in the bar, basically. He's like, I'm not going out in public. Like, I'm not stepping foot because I'm going to get picked off. I thought that was really cool. But then we transition. So after we see this opening scene where clones are questioning Kamino and they want to come forward with the truth, we kind of flash towards the Senate, who's discussing basically an armed forces bill. Like, hey, we want to make a new army, and there's debate among the Senate. well, do we even need an army? Shouldn't we be in a time of peace? Which is a good question, right? Because in the Clone Wars, in Attack of the Clones, excuse me, like that was the real kind of creation of a Republic army. It didn't exist. And so if the war is over, why do we even need one? Which is a fair question. And then the question about like, well, what about the clones? Like, what are we going to do with them? Like, you know, it's this political debate begins, and we see Rampart at the center of this conversation. So I'm thinking, oh, he's going to be a very big player, you know, in the future of the Empire. And where we end, I'm very curious what's going to happen with Rampart as we come to an end. Yeah. I keep wanting to jump ahead because, like, I know the answers to these questions that I want to.
Can I guys tell you the ending? What's going to happen to him at the end?
Yeah,
he's gone.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah, he's dead. I do wonder. Okay, we'll get there. We'll get there when we get there. So anyway, so that's the premise. There's a conspiracy trying to be uncovered by some well-meaning senators. The Empire is trying to get approval on a new stormtrooper-led army, and that's what's at play in this first episode. And overall, I felt like, to your point, Ben, I think you said it really well. The Bad Batch not being there, I think, almost enhanced the episode. Yeah, it did. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Rex pops up in this episode. Rex is coming to help this clone who is, you know, having second thoughts. He's been compromised. He's trying to get out. I liked Rex being there. I thought it made sense to me that he would be like in the clone outreach program. Like if you need help, he's the guy. What did you think about Rex in the episode? What stuck out to you besides that as well? You can take it.
First of all, the entrance was totally badass. Just badass.
It was really good.
When you have a great sort of badass overlap with good storytelling, it only amps up all the action. It only makes it much more exciting.
Yeah.
So I sort of was thinking in the back of my mind, comparing it to Luke's appearance at the end of The Mandalorian Season 2. And where in Mando, it felt very arbitrary. I mean, it was almost like plug and play, and you're solid there. Like, you know, they were trying to basically dissuade all the crew on the set that it was going to be Plo Koon. It would still work scene-wise. Here, it was very appropriate because who else is going to come through for them? There's nobody else left in the galaxy to help them out. And he comes out, and I'm thinking, okay. For some reason, I was thinking Echo 5.
Okay.
I don't know why, but
I was thinking it was going to be. I was not thinking Rex, which is silly because we saw him in the trailer. We saw him in the trailer, but it didn't even really dawn on me. But anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
But it was very appropriate. He comes through, and you almost start feeling that even though the dialogues didn't go there, it almost felt like they're planting the first seeds of that rebellion. I mean, there's a reason why they're showing you the Senate and then Bail Organa and then Rex, and even though they kind of like act independently in the episode, it almost feels like this grander setup, like we're leading the audience slowly to this event that is going to happen. And now they're actively, because what is happening with the clones in a cantina, that's already red flags all over the place. They're already questioning. They're like, hey, like somebody's trying to like shoulder us out of the whole action. We need to fight. We need to find a purpose for ourselves.
We need purpose, yeah.
Right, and the Republic doesn't need us anymore. So Rex is going to step in. Obviously, Ahsoka via her, you know, moniker. What was it called? Remind me. What is she called?
In Rebels. It's not Fulcrum. Fulcrum? No.
Fulcrum. Yeah.
Yes, that's it. Okay.
So all of these pieces are going to start, you know, coming together. For me.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
Well, and Scott, I got to call this out. You were so right that if it was Crosshair, he wouldn't have missed. And my actual thought when I was like, could it be Crosshair? I was like, man, he's missing a lot of shots. And like his whole thing is he doesn't like. We saw in episode 3 when he like just took out an entire like army solo, which was such a great moment. And by the way, as we continue on through here, no Crosshair again. Crosshair has been very sparingly used in the season, and I like it. I really like it. I actually am a big fan of that sparing usage because when we've seen him so far, huge, impactful episode. He's not just they got away again, chasing him every week. I like that. I really like how
everything feels like it has intent behind it, and it's such a Dave Filoni signature.
I like it quite a bit. So that's episode 7 in a nutshell, right? The conspiracy is exposed. It's planted that there's this time crunch to find answers on what happened to Camino to try to prevent this new army being formed.
Yeah.
So then we have episode 7, right? The Bad Batch comes in. Oh, wait a second. Whoop, whoop. Back it up. our assassin, not Crosshair, is chasing after Senator Chuchi, takes out her guard, has her cornered. Rex makes the appearance like we talked about. And then we have a very interesting moment where the assassin is captured, stunned. He's taken back to Trace and Rafa's facility, and he gets questioned. And this was a very interesting turn. And first of all, Steve, I see your question about Jim. Jim has caught some high winds and his internet is not working. So that is where Jim is. He is, I'm sure, driving to local Starbucks so he can watch us on his phone. But he is not here today. That's why, weather related.
Yeah.
So we have this interrogation with this new assassin who turns out to be a clone. And so at first I'm thinking like, okay, it's a clone who, I don't know, maybe this was his purpose. He was like, well, I needed a purpose and this was a purpose. Like I could fight the good fight. I thought it was going to be something like that. But no, it's like this clone who's been wiped of an identification chip. And he's not speaking. And he, like was said earlier in chat, he basically pops a cyanide pill or electrocutes himself. But before that, he says a line, and I should have written it down, I'm forgetting, but something along the lines of like,
we have evolved, we're stronger, right?
Yeah, I have belief or something like about, he's got almost a fanatical belief about something. And we don't know, and he's gone.
I have theories there.
And I'm like, oh, that is not what I expected. Like, it is not what I expected at all. And what it felt like to me, before we pass over to you, Ben, it reminds me almost in after Return of the Jedi, when Palpatine apparently had like a backup plan, right? And he had these these guards who had like a secret, or it almost felt like this was like a sect of like Palpatine followers or something who had been trained from birth to be assassins or something. I was like, okay, this is interesting. If it's been in canon before, I'm not familiar with it. And this took me to a very unexpected place. What's your theory on the new assassin unnamed clone?
So theory number one, remember how at the end of season 1, we have cloners who are taken to Mount Tantus, right? Where some cloning experimentation is going to happen off the grid. Maybe not necessarily with these clones because they're going to get obviously phased out. The Emperor doesn't require their services anymore. But maybe it's Crosshair, doppelganger / clone kind of scenario where they're breeding these new elite special clones, which are not going to substitute the entire army, but also basically will be used as for suicide missions. Because again, when he ends his life, expendable completely. When this clone ends his life this way, horrific. Again, I couldn't believe it, man. It was so dark. So World War II, all these spy games, and when you're captured by the enemy, you bite on that tooth and the cyanide, and then you're gone. Second scenario is when we already have seen the Dark Troopers in the Mandalorian show, right? They're all droids. Well, early iterations of that are humans. Once again, connecting it back to Mount Tantus, what if the first advanced elite Dark Troopers were these clone post-use, waste to use kind of a DNA they were trying to incorporate, and then it doesn't work and they scrap them completely later on, and they say, no, the advanced new units of the Dark Troopers need to be droids only. We have to achieve complete obedience there because this guy obviously failed at his mission. He's no go.
That's interesting. I like both those ideas. I think those have a lot of legs to them too. And I thought, Scott said something similar, which is, maybe they're precursors to the Death Troopers, which is also a good idea. Regardless, I think I'm continually surprised by like new little bits of lore that get dropped in, and it makes sense. Like, it makes sense there'd be specialized forces within the stormtroopers, within the clone troopers. Like, it makes total sense for specific causes. And so this seems to be a plot point for the rest of the season that we'll find out, and maybe it will tie into Crosshair's story, which we haven't heard a lot about recently. And to an earlier comment in chat about this episode, they did also kind of confirm that the Kaminoans are basically like on their, like, they're almost extinct. The episode basically is like there's very few Kaminoans left, which was kind of which is actually really sad. It's I don't know. It was really episode 1 finale was season 1 finale.
Man. It was really sad because you can't bundle up the entire race and blame the Clone Wars on them. It's just cloners. There's a whole society, a whole civilization. Unfortunately, we only see Tipoca City in the shows and the movies.
Yeah.
It would have been nice to see, because I did a short lore video.
Oh,
on
it
the
would have been
whole-
great. Yeah.
Right, on the whole Camino, that they have this ancient, rich culture and civilization, and it's all
Mm.
wiped off of the, especially in a grotesque way, that the way that it happens in the show. I would
And
love to see more.
And what I loved about it in last season, when they went to the Kaminoan facility in like a Bestine style cloud city,
Yeah.
It almost reminded me of like Jurassic Park, like an abandoned park. Do you know, like in Jurassic Park 3, when they go to like the rundown park, everything's like grimy and like closed down. It's like,
You're
what
talking
happened
about the
here?
original Jurassic Park 3, the old one.
Yes,
Not
yes,
Jurassic
not
World,
Jurassic
right?
World. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
So
yeah,
they go to the islands, like the park's run down. It was almost
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's what I felt like. It was like this was this other Kaminoan cloning facility. Like, woo, what happened here? What did they do over there? So it is very sad. There are some Kaminoans left, and I do hope that we see that race again, because you're right, man. They have a really cool lore and a whole culture that was just completely wiped out, which again shows the impact of war and the maturity of the Star Wars storytelling. So on that end, I agree.
Mhm.
So now we move to episode 8. The Bad Batch are brought in. Rex needs some help. Hey, we're gonna uncover this big conspiracy, and this is the more action focused episode, where we have to go into an old Imperial ship and break in and steal the coordinates. Which, hey, it was a great episode. It is so funny to me he did not wipe his backup if there was a top secret mission. I mean, we're just gonna ignore that aside. Like, that is rule number 1: delete the browser history, my man. You cannot have this big conspiracy and not do that. So I will give him a pass. But that's the mission at hand, right? Let's go sneak in and get the coordinates. And we have a fun kind of set piece that ensues with some gorgeous shots in the shipyard. There are some, in particular, the end when they escape from the ship and they're climbing up from the tubes, and it zooms out and you see the stormtroopers doing routes, looking for them in the spotlights. It's like the cinematography is like money.
Amazing, man. Amazing.
So good. Yeah.
And I gotta say, I love action, which, again, it's something extraordinary, that just blows your mind immediately. But what really excites me about even simple action like this, where it's so involved with the story, and you're so rooting for these guys, and you want them to win because their mission is so desperate and so key. Because they're constantly reminding you, the time, the Chuchi and Bail Organa tried to bide some time in the Senate, and these guys are basically hustling and to get it there on time. It's just so exciting, man.
Blue Pig, I'm going to warn you, my man. We're going to get into, we are in spoilers, and I'm
indeed.
shortly going to talk about like a big moment at the end. It's a very big moment for the Bad Batch at the end of this episode. So I highly encourage you to step away for 10 to 15 minutes. Unless you don't care. I mean, technically, we all know how it ends. We've all seen we saw episode 4, 5, and 6. So I'm not going to spoil anything too big, but that is the reality.
Yeah.
And so you're right, Ben. The action was not like episode 3 action, where Crosshair was just like an insanely cool sequence. But it was something that had a sense of urgency to it. Like you said, it had a real purpose, a real cause. And what I really enjoyed about the episode, the use of the action in this episode, is it didn't feel like it dragged on too long. Like, okay, let's just it was a mission. It was pithy. Let's get in. Let's get out. Let's handle it. And I'm skipping ahead some things because I want to get to what I think is like my favorite moment of the episode personally, which is they get the logs. They're ready to go, and they are like, okay, let's run to the Senate. They flash to the Senate. There's this debate going on, and then the Bad Batch, they make it there with like seconds to spare. And, Bail Organa is like, I got it. Here's the detail. And a really pretty shot there is Omega sitting in the doorway of the Senate as they see all these seats. And so it's like, oh, we got it. And I'm thinking, you know what? I bet you they put a fake data log in there, and it's going to be some some changed history where like it doesn't show that. It's not what they thought. Right. And, they're going to be like, yep, that's what the log showed. It's a big storm. And it's going to be like, oh, they fooled us. Like they thought about it. But no, it's the correct footage. It shows Kamino being destroyed. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay, like is Rampart just going to say, yeah, so be it. You can't handle the truth. Is that what he's going to do? But no, we zoom out. The door opens. The music changes. And Palpatine comes up. And I'm like, oh man, Palpatine is about to strike fear in the heart of the Senate and be like, hey, listen here. I'm playing this game. I'm the Dark Lord of the Sith.
He drops some bars, man.
But you know what he does? He just, in the most Palpatine way, just politically maneuvers the situation in the most like fantastic way. And I loved it because that is like, there's always this online debate, like who's the strongest Sith, who's the most powerful. It's like they all did different things, and Palpatine's was scheming. He was one of the best schemers the Sith had, right? That's how he got the Sith on top.
Yes, scheming wise, I'll give him that.
Yes,
100%.
and so it's like, instead of playing to like, oh, I'm so powerful, you bend before me, like maybe some Sith would bend into. No, he just craftily, wow, thanks for showing us this. I can't believe Rampart would do something like this. We have rogue agents in our military. Let's get him out, and it just proves why we need new military leadership and a new military vision, so this doesn't happen again.
Yeah,
and
he validated himself.
Mic drop. And it appears that was basically Palpatine's plan the whole time, or he was just completely unfazed and had planned through what could happen if this was exposed. And so for me, as a big dark side fan, I love Palpatine's character. I love his character because it's like, I love the genius who steps ahead. And in Palpatine's case, he's not what I consider like supernaturally steps ahead, where a character is somehow figuring out things that are like impossible to surmise. Like, you know, a genius in a show who's like so genius, it's like, okay, like no one's that smart. Like Palpatine makes mistakes, but he adapts. Yeah. And so it makes it very believable to me, his schemes. Like he has backup plans. He has things he'll pivot to.
He's a chess player.
Exactly. He's not a god who just is whatever I say goes. Mm-hmm. He has to have plan A's and plan B's. And so watching him scheme out of that, I thought was just like, oh, like that's why he's so good. You know, that's why he was able to rise to power. So I really liked that moment in the episode. What did you think, Ben? I went on for a little bit there. Tell me.
I loved the anticipation there. It almost like you were halfway thinking, yeah, we're gonna go that route. Obviously, we need Palpatine here. Absolutely. This is a setup. You kind of wait for him to show up in the previous episode. That doesn't happen. They sort of emotionally kind of like all the threads lead there, but you don't quite know. And the reason that we all love to see him is that he's the perfect snake in the Garden of Eden. He is the one that whispers in your ear, and you nailed it. He's the guy who doesn't just, kind of like throws fist on the table and says, no, it's going to be my way. He validates himself constantly, even though people are basically convinced into fearing him. That's what it is. It's like, once again, the comparison to Hitler, where, you can't just control a population by sheer force. You basically make zealots out of them and say, no, you need more protection. You scare them to this. I think the first Winter Soldier, remember that scene where they're descending with Nick Fury into the underground, and they're seeing the heli carrier over there, and Captain America goes like, that's how you're trying to, win the situation over? This is not a freedom. This is fear. You're instilling fear into people, and this is what is happening here. And of course, Ian McDiarmid, he nails it. He kills it right away. And I enjoyed how the dialogues are written here, once again, which are so much closer to the original trilogy, which, me, I'm not a huge Palpy fan in as far as the prequels go. Yeah. But once again, coming back to the Clone Wars and the Rebels show, this is where we see him basically spread his wings. We see more interaction with Darth Vader. We see a lot more interaction with Vader in the novels as well. And here he comes in. He's like, even though Vader is not here standing at his shoulder, at his side, you almost hear in his speech that he's also preparing Vader for his next phase of his plan.
Well, and you said it, like when you talked about the comparison to a Stalin or a Hitler, because that's what George was thinking of when he wrote the character Palpatine, right? That was heavily an inspiration. And how Palpatine, even if you think back to the prequels, Palpatine would often use combat with a bigger plan in mind. His duel against Windu is well executed by him, right? Where he uses even an opponent is he outmatched against, or does he intentionally kind of throw? Mm-hmm. Either way, it doesn't matter. He uses a situation for his plans because that's where his strength is. And I've always loved that about Palpatine. He is like, there's one moment where Palpatine is like, oh, okay, he's really powerful. It's that my head goes to. It's when he takes on Maul and Savage, and he just pulls the lightsaber. He's like, look, I am so many levels ahead of you as a Sith Lord. Like, you aren't even in the same stratosphere. Right. But often Palpatine appears to get his advantage purely through wit and manipulation. Mm-hmm. And I just like that felt true to that in this episode. It was like, yep. Right. he didn't just come in
his
and like.
strongest trump card, and that's what he uses in this.
I love it. I just love. I love that, and it's it feels like the character. So I love that. I love that so much. That it felt so authentic to the character.
There's one moment that I wanted to bring at the end, which was unexpectedly very, very emotional for me. The parting of Omega and Tech.
Oh well, see, we didn't got there yet. So
I'm sorry. Am I jumping ahead?
No, yeah, we're about to transition. So after this like the good guys lose, they're like, dang it, they were ahead of us. What are we gonna do? And Rex is like, well, now the clones are in big trouble because we have just had a new bill passed, basically saying, hey, the clones stink. They're out of here. And so Rex is like, we got to be available. We got to be ready to fight.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the Bad Batch members is like, yep, we do. And this was planted earlier in this season, episode 1, where Echo's like, man, I'm tired of sitting on the side, like doing these side missions. I need a bigger cause. And it especially makes sense because Echo was for so long trapped as a clone, left out there, and he had to be saved. And so it makes so much sense to me that he would want to do the same thing. But out of nowhere, out of seemingly nowhere, the episode's wrap it up, and Hunter's like, hey, good luck out there, buddy. And Wrecker's like, hey, we'll miss you. And Tech's like, hey, good luck. And Omega's like, what? And, Echo's like, hey, I'm going to fight the good fight. I'm going to go squad up with Rex. And it was like, oh, like, we're losing one of the members. Like, we had talked about this earlier in the season. It's like, are they all going to die? Like, what's going to happen? And I'm sure we'll see Echo again. But it's like, no, they're kind of transitioning, like, to their purpose. And I know I saw some fans online were like, dang it, like, Echo never got his time to shine. And, like, now he's gone already. This really frustrates me. And I understand that. The flip side, I would say, is this feels compatible with Echo's character to me. This is what I think Echo's character would do. And so even if, like, maybe I would like to see some more time with him before, I think ultimately where his character is going is where he should be. And that was my feeling for that moment. But go into the emotions of it, Ben. Talk about it.
Yeah. No, first, talk about the clones. I really enjoyed the fact. First of all, I think Tech is going to be back 100%. I won't be surprised if they kind of like go on their separate journeys and reunite, because these 2 episodes managed to come back to the Clone War era once again, because these clones are still fighting their personal battles. And for me, the entire culmination of the Clone Wars show, especially the final shot, the ending of season 7, reveals who the true heroes are. It's not Anakin, it's not Kenobi, it's not Windu. It's these clones who bled and suffered, and it makes it so much more emotional. And here, these guys, the old war dogs who are torn and tired, that they just want to be left alone. But they understand that if they are not going to put in resistance, nobody's going to do it for them. And Rex is there, and Echo's there. Dude, I'm getting emotional just talking about this. It was so perfectly executed, where these guys are saying, no, we're the big boys here. We need to, make sure somebody, starts building those resources to resist the Emperor. We can't stand this anymore. And I think in a way, this is a great chance for Amiga and for the younger audience to mature with the show, where this is a character micro death. He's not dead physically, but spiritually. You need to learn as a child to say goodbye to something that you enjoy, to the Star Wars that came before, to George Lucas, to all of these elements that are so pivotal and influential in our lives. And when she's hugging him, dude, I was on the verge of tears. I'm like, oh man, this is so hard. It's such a simple moment. And the entire 2 episodes take you to that place. It doesn't just appear out of nowhere. Oh no, we need to stroke some emotional chords over here, so we're gonna put that scene in there. It's so perfectly executed there. As an artist, Dave Filoni, man, I take my hat off to him. It was amazing. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, well said. And to Scott's point, it's been like a 2-year journey. Like, we've grown with these characters. We've seen them now, and it is. I like how you said that, Ben. And it's like, it's a micro death. It's not the death of a character, but it's a transition for them. And Echo's he's of the Bad Batch. We like them all for very different reasons. They all bring something different to the table. I always really liked Echo, just the character idea. This soldier kind of tortured and saved. And what I will say too about Echo leaving, I think thematically kind of makes sense. He was not one of the original Bad Batch. They saved him. He found a new calling with them, and he found purpose, and he found training. And now he's found a new calling with Rex. And so it makes sense to me that he'd go. And I think you saw that in the reaction of Hunter and Wrecker and Tech. They're like, all right, see you later, Echo. Like, you got it, buddy. Like, get out there. You know, they weren't nearly, and they're soldiers, so they kind of get it, you know? And so I thought that was really well done. It also leaves a hole for Crosshair to come back because now they're down a member and they're missing one of the original 4, you know, they're missing one of the guys. And so I have a feeling, that will get filled. I have a feeling that might get filled.
I almost don't want Crosshair to be redeemed, at least not easily. Like it needs to be a struggle.
So okay, I'm gonna word this kind of clunky. I think what I want from Crosshair is kind of what I wanted from Kylo, which Kylo and the one of my biggest problems with the sequel trilogy and what they did with Kylo Ren was I felt like they had avenues to take his character to interesting places besides I want to rule the galaxy. Like that didn't feel like his character to me, and I hated that's where he ended in The Last Jedi. I loved his speech like in the throne room, like, hey, like I hate these systems of power, they've been manipulating us, like let's go do our own thing. Like I liked that. I didn't like that. Oh, I'll lead the First Order now. Like I didn't like that. Didn't feel like his character to me. And so what I wanted for him, what I wanted from Kylo was not. I didn't want him to become a good guy, but I wanted him to become more of a gray guy, where he was doing things that were not good. He was doing things poorly, but he had some sort of moral code that was not just I'm bad, I kill people.
He was asking some hard questions that needed to be asked of Luke and of Rey.
And I'm kind of hoping for something similar with Crosshair in the sense that, like, I don't want Crosshair to all of a sudden become a good guy. It would feel a little like, what? But I don't necessarily want Crosshair to just always be the Emperor's killing machine. Like, maybe Crosshair just goes off and does something. Like, just like, I'm done. I'm going to go find a nice Twi'lek woman like the other clones.
And if he will be reintegrated with a Bad Batch, what I was saying is that he needs to pay for his sins in a way. And he needs to absolve himself before they can say, like, oh, okay, you want to help now? Okay, now you can join.
No, it makes total sense. I think he'll end up back there. I think it just depends how they do it. And yeah, Scott, I like when you said a 2-year journey, I was thinking like the Bad Batch has been on for 2 years. But yeah, 20 years of clones is a long journey. And that's what, because this is the anniversary, 20th anniversary Attack of the Clones, or 25th? Well, regardless, that loss of Camino in the last season, that's why it hit, man. And that episode hit because it was like a closing of the door. It was like,
it's the reason I'm grateful for the prequel trilogy. So it's created some amazing lore.
Yeah. So that was the mid-season finale. 8 episodes left.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here and I feel pretty satisfied with this season so far. You know, there's been some episodes I've really liked. Episode 3 I thought was phenomenal. Episode 7 and 8 I think were amazing. I actually really liked the last 2 episodes with 5 and 6. I really liked. 1, 2, 4 were all kind of fine for me. But so far I think it's been, especially with this kind of mid-period point, a really good season so far. I'm happy with what I've seen.
It's always interesting to rewatch the shows that you enjoy and seeing all the episodes next to each other and kind of like find a new connections there.
Yeah. Well said. Well, that was Bad Batch, folks. It's been fun. I love it. It's going to start running. It's pretty soon going to start running into Mandalorian, right? Because Mandalorian's only a month away. So we're going to have some dual Star Wars, I think, for a brief period. That'll be interesting. Very interesting. But as one door closes, another opens. And speaking of that, we got a new Star Wars game on the horizon with some footage. Let me go ahead and let me pull up some. Yes,
if you hear any background noise on my end, please let me know. I'll try to close the window or something.
It sounds all right.
Outside music.
Sounds all right so far. Let me go ahead and get this screen up. I've changed our wallpaper to Mr. Cal Kestis himself. Very excited for this guy here.
Hell yeah.
And here we go.
Now,
okay.
The age gap is 5 years, right, between the two games?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. So I'm not going to have audio with this clip because, guys, for folks who watched last week's stream, where we had a minute clip of a trailer for Trolls and then another minute clip for a different special, that was blocked and copyright claimed immediately, and it just went back up today because I had to dispute it. Yes, because YouTube system can be really sensitive about that stuff.
Okay.
And also in this clip, I'll keep the sound on low. There's not a lot of commentary. There's just some noise. So I will hit stop on our playlist. The person playing the game calls out, I think, the location and then it's just gameplay for 9 minutes. So I have not watched this yet. So I am going in totally fresh. I waited for this. I thought it'd be a fun time for stream. And so let's get into it. I'm going to click play and see what happens.
Star Wars Jedi Survivor is February's IGN first,
gorgeous.
And to kick it all off,
I'm going to break my rule. I'm going to just stop real quick before we keep going.
Yeah.
And then I will not pause anymore. I absolutely love this structure up in the top left. It almost looks like a jellyfish.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a tree or what, but I am super into this planet. And it seems like this will be kind of our new hub world, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I absolutely
That's what I'm wondering, whether it's going to, a lot of it is going to be just visual eye candy like Mass Effect, and you just can't traverse to that area, or where it's going to be hub-based like Tomb Raider, more open areas that we've been asking for.
Yeah. Maybe this.
Just please don't make it open world. I don't want the Skyrim Star Wars.
All right, let's hop back in. Let's see.
Survivor is February's IGN first, and to kick it all off, we're introducing you to the world of Kobo. A brand new planet that Cal Kestis crash lands on early in the game after a secret mission he's involved with goes awry. Enjoy this look at 9 minutes of gameplay on Kobo, and be sure to check IGN all throughout the month of February for much more Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
Graphics look great.
Okay.
So it looks like we transitioned into a mission here.
Yeah.
Love the UI for BD around. It looks great.
Yeah, I also was commenting on that in my reaction. I love the BD's.
We have our target.
His little UI is so
utility
great. I love
there,
that. Yeah.
I hope they fix the 3D map as well, make it more functional.
Yeah. His run's kind of funny. He's got his arms really pumping there.
Mm-hmm. Last time I saw a Lucre Hulk was Braca.
Oh, wow.
A long time ago. Rough.
I love the scale of some of the stuff we're seeing right now. Mm-hmm. So wall running feels familiar. Got some droids. Dual wielding. Okay.
His animations feel weightier.
They do. So you're able to toggle, it seems, fight stances really effectively, quickly. Now, I'm going to pause real quick and just call something out here.
Go for it.
I think the people playing are IGN employees. Mm-hmm. So I will say, like, they're probably not fully executing the combos or performance they could be.
Right.
So that's one thing I'm going to keep in mind when I'm watching this. I'm like, that's kind of
just test running the game. Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, it's probably just if I was playing a game for the first 9 minutes, this is what it would look like.
Yeah.
That was really cool finisher.
See, they're not even showing you like uninterrupted traversing the station. You don't know how much of it is really open.
Yeah. I kind of like it. They're kind of keeping it secret.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it's exactly what I would do. That's exactly what I would do. I love it.
Never thought I'd say it, but I kind of missed the Roger separatist droids, man.
I know.
It's always fun to have them.
They're the best. We're independent thinkers. So now these are modified droids in some factions. So I wonder what's going on this planet.
Threat identified. They are hit. Damage taken.
Right. Ooh, yeah.
Nice, right? I love how you can change on the fly now.
I love that. That looks so good.
Time to end you.
Nice. Oh. Is that a time stop? Okay. Yeah, this is reminiscent of the first game. It's a big monster punching in the face. I like that.
I enjoy when you fight the bigger monsters in this game. It doesn't feel quick time events like in God of War. It feels more organic.
That's fair.
You're no joke.
Oh.
I gotta say, these are mostly new creatures as well, obviously.
Yeah.
These different planets. It's so fun. The flora and fauna looks unique here. Part of the aspect of Star Wars. You want to visit those exotic planets.
Hear that?
No. Do it.
Oh.
Call it in. Another one down. Reaper. On the abyss.
That's so cool, man. The way you switch that's really
Yeah, badass, man. I love Cal.
Yeah. Oh, that was sweet.
Nice,
I like
right?
that. Oh, we got an ad break. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah.
All right, back in. Okay.
Throwing a grenade.
Oh, that was really cool. It's kind of an half mid-air.
The sound effects as well, man. It's so punchy.
Do you think I can do that?
Oh,
BD?
cute creatures are back. Let's go. Cal is an absolute unit. I know. Big
Yeah.
guy. Man, it's a long tunnel we're climbing up here. Come on.
These are so fun, man. Kind of like this planet's version of Lost Cats.
Yeah, no joke. BD1, the king himself.
You think we're gonna visit some familiar planets?
I don't.
No.
I think they're gonna try to take us on a. I think the story of this game is gonna be very much like hidden artifacts, hidden Jedi, like lost technology kind of.
More
vibe.
like Tomb Raider.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or
Or like episode 5 of the Bad Batch, where they went on that Indiana Jones style quest. That was awesome, by the way. I know I just
Yeah,
talked
dude.
over the frame.
I was surprised to see that, honestly, because I know it's not going to be a mature rated game. But
And I know the challenges of having a lightsaber game. Like in theory, a lot of these things would be cut in half on the first hit, but then the game would be like literally no fun.
exactly.
Ooh,
Yeah, you could decapitate creatures now, man.
woo, love it.
That's awesome.
Clean cuts. Oh, ooh, that's cool. I love how fluid he is to this cool.
Yeah, I'm telling you that they did a number on that animation. It feels so smooth.
I love Dathomir being on the first game because you're right. There were legacy planets in the first game, so maybe I should expect that in the second one.
Mm-hmm.
I love this location.
I'd
I
love
think it's so
Tatooine,
great.
actually.
Oh, that could be something.
Gotta unlock this.
All right, let's
Always
go. A
on point.
jacket, not ponchos.
Hey, what do you have against Poncho?
I love the
man?
ponchos. They were great. They were great.
I felt sad in this part. I'm like, what the hell? A little bird was just like
I know, just drinking.
one of those docile creatures. It just
Okay, but we've all done that, right? In a game where you're like, oh,
I mean,
and
of course.
you're like, ooh, and maybe you don't even mean to. You're just like, ooh,
Maybe.
I didn't know that was yeah.
I think that's the camp there.
Yeah, and I wonder what I would like to see more from this game as well is like some more. This was not prevalent at all in the first game, if my memory serves me, but there were no real like cities with like actual
Yeah,
a lot of
like
life.
with NPCs?
Very scarce. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'd love to see some of that where there was actually a populated area.
Yeah.
Ooh,
This surprised me as well.
oh,
Fall back. Good shot. Expectation. That's the one of ours.
oh.
That's long, man.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
Assassin droid.
Yeah, I like it.
It feels more like duels going on. You know, he's
Yep.
not just there for 2 swings and moving on, which I
Yep.
like that.
I do too. I hope I can change my blade color. I love doing that.
I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. I mean,
I love it.
we had it in the first game.
I love it.
I get it. They're weird things. I'd like to know what's in them too.
But we don't have that kind of
So,
time.
did we
or
just
resources.
experience
Okay.
psychometry
So, no.
in
And
Star
please-
Wars, Cal Kestis?
All right, that was 9 minutes of gameplay. I gotta tell you, I'm already excited for the game, man. I'm already excited. What can
It's
I
gonna
say?
be awesome.
And what I really love about Fallen Order, it's the gameplay is only half the fun for me because the story was so engaging in the first one.
Yeah.
And that
Better
doesn't mean I
story
don't,
than all of the entire sequel trilogy. I mean, they
That-
did a better job.
that doesn't mean that I don't want good gameplay, but it just means it has such an advantage if it tells a good story that I can still have a huge amount of enjoyment as a Star Wars fan, even if the gameplay is not the greatest, but it looks like it's improved from the first one. in
Yeah,
that
no, it's
small
gonna. I
taste.
think it's gonna be awesome.
I'm extremely excited. That was really exciting. Some of the combos they were doing, I love the fluidity and changing stances. I think that is fantastic. I am super excited about that. Looks really good. And hey, I'm fine with the delay. I really am. I'm totally fine with the delay. And I think, it's going to work out well for him. Oh, I just dropped my phone.
I mean,
think it's
5
gonna work
weeks.
out well
It
for him.
does. It's not even like a delay as far as video gaming industry goes. It's just like, okay, tomorrow instead of today. It's nothing.
I'm with you 100%. I mean, we talked about last week. Like, I'll take it, especially because you have Mandalorian Bad Batch, and then on May the 4th, they have a bunch of stuff coming too. They're gonna run into that as well. They have Visions, they have New High Republic stuff, all those trailers, they have Star Wars Celebration. I'm like, man, and I don't know. Like, I like to let my content breathe a little bit sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
things can get lost.
Somebody's
absolutely
getting a
lost.
collector's edition. Wow, nice.
Oh my god, are you gonna order that, Ben?
I was thinking about it. Honestly, I wasn't digging the lightsaber prop. I thought if it came with the blade, I actually would have considered it, but it's just the hilt, so it didn't sway me.
Well, Ben, you're wrong. No, I'm just kidding. So let me grab here. I got a drink out front real quick. I got to go grab it real quick. As Ben, you're holding it down solo.
Yeah.
You just said you've started reviewing video games on a second channel.
Yeah.
Retro focused. Does that include retro Star Wars games?
I'm thinking about it, guys.
We'll talk about it as
I'm-
I leave. Keep going.
Yeah, sure. Since I'm playing Knights of the Old Republic, I just finished part 1 recently, and I'm in the middle of part 2. I think I'll relegate my Star Wars related content to the main channel. But what you see in the profile, the Fire Emblem it's something that I've been planning to do for a while. Just return to something that I really, really enjoy, which is the Fire Emblem series. I've been playing them since the Game Boy Advance time. And I said to myself, you know what? Let me just kind of separate the two, make it a side project, see how it goes. I'm also focusing on these, for those of you guys who have been enjoying my micro videos, which are 60 seconds long, and they always deal with lore. So I kind of started doing that on the other page with the Fire Emblem characters, because it's primarily a character-centric strategy game, right? And so far they've been picking up, and fans seem to enjoy it. I'm like, okay, I'll continue there. But as far as Star Wars content go, I think it belongs here.
I've never played a Fire Emblem game.
Hmm.
I own 3
Have
houses.
you been aware of them?
Of course, I own 3 houses. I've just never beaten it.
Ah, okay.
I'll tell you, I have a hard time playing my Switch consistently. I don't know what it is. I've just had the hardest time with that. But
Yeah.
sorry to get us off on a topic there. I know there's a lot of retro Star Wars games that I haven't played though. And I think about
That's another thing I'm contemplating, Josh, is just something on a channel. Maybe we could do some sort of a live stream or something like that. Just put on an old school retro game and just see how fans receive it. Because what's funny? In our day and age, thanks to all the social media influence, these old relics are getting rediscovered, and you constantly see people put their Steam on and just play their retro Star Wars games, and people are like, what is this Jedi Academy game? Let me check it out. That's fun.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, like, I know there's been some gems I've missed in the over the years. I know it for a fact.
Like Knights of the Old Republic, which you won't play for another 5 years. So I strongly suggest you play it.
I'm so sad. I was like, I'll just play it. I'll beat it when the remaster comes
just
out.
do it, man. I'm telling you, just do it. I know you feel intimidated, like it's gonna take you forever. It's like only 30 hours long.
Here's the thing, man. I might have to pick it up on my Steam Deck. I think it runs well on the Steam Deck. I think.
No, it should run perfectly, yeah.
And so I'm like, I should knock it out because I've been that Steam Deck. I gotta tell you guys, if you're considering it, it's a big purchase. So obviously, you gotta think about that. But
it's fun as hell.
It is. If you're busy, you got a job, you got school, you got whatever, and you're like, man, it's hard for me to sit down and like boot up a system and play for hours or boot up my PC. Man, just grabbing your little handheld and playing some games on there just for an hour. It's so much easier. 30 minutes. It's so easy to kind of drop in and out. And I got to tell you, I would absolutely love to play. I wonder if I should try to beat Fallen Order again on Steam Deck before this comes out. Refresh
That's an
myself.
idea, because actually my brother test ran it on his before I got mine. And it runs surprisingly smooth.
I've heard it runs really well. Ooh, that might be a fun kind of idea. Just like play it, because I've beaten it before. Just refresh myself on the
And Knights of the Old Republic.
And Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah.
So,
guys, I'm gonna keep just like brainwashing until it's gonna happen one day.
I'm absolutely man. I know I'm gonna love it too. I'm just like, oh man, if the remaster is gonna come out, like maybe I want to play it fresh for the first time there. But who knows when that's coming out now? That's just been delayed to forever.
It might go on hiatus like the Final Fantasy VII remake 5 years, or I want to hope for the best. That it's something they're reorganizing, redirecting quickly, taking it away from where Asper Media and just bringing it in house, and just because they know fans anticipated, fans wanted.
The hype for that was so insane when it was announced.
Yeah.
And yes, I don't actively play Battlefront. I did when it came out. I haven't in several, probably a year now at this point. But I had a lot of fun with Battlefront. I also had a lot of fun with Rogue Squadron, Squadrons, excuse me. That came out last year. I really liked. And I got to tell you, I think Star Wars gaming is going to be a real focus. And we already have Eclipse announced, and we already have some apparently giant MMO under BioWare we've talked about, or not maybe even MMO, just open world BioWare title. I don't even think it's a reach. I am very much expecting that on May the 4th, we are going to get a new Star Wars game shown or confirmed or announced, because if the quality is up to par with the last couple releases we've had, what a new way to tell just so many fun stories. And like, we were here live, Ben, when the Eclipse trailer dropped. And we were like, whoa, they're going to do some really interesting things here in the Star Wars universe. And it's it's a gold mine if you can dig into it, if you can tap into it. So I assume we're going to get more and more games. And hey,
let's hope they get it together.
Hey, I don't take your time with it too. Like we talked about, take your time, give us good quality games. We'll be excited for it.
Yeah.
And again, if you're into reading books, Battle Scars is coming out. That's going to lead up to the events here. So maybe fill in the gaps for what's been going on with Kale, which will be interesting. I wonder if the game is going to address those in just like a brief snippet, or if they're going to go deeper as well. So, well, guys, thanks for being here tonight, talking about the Bad Batch, which was phenomenal. Talking about this gameplay, which was fun. First time I've seen it. Ben, any other Star Wars news this week we need to be thinking about or talking about as we prep for?
This just dropped, man. I don't know how much of a news this is, but I totally entirely missed it. Guys, don't forget, these are still coming out strong. I can't keep up with these anymore. I tried to get them. This is the New Republic one. This one primarily focused on the Rogue Squadron comic books.
Oh, there we go.
Let me see if I can pop a page here. Yeah, some Mara Jade books in there, but it's primarily Rogue Squadron. Just look at this puppy.
That's huge, man.
Look at this.
Oh,
amazing. They like recolor it, reprint it. These don't feel like these came out in the 90s. It feels like brand new, man. It's like these are the Bibles. These are things that I really, really enjoy picking up. Not just because it's legends and nostalgia. These are really awesome comics. Man.
How many pages is that, man? It's huge.
Yeah. These are giant. Now look at this. This is heavy, like 4 pounds or something.
Where'd you pick it up from?
Amazon. So what I recommend you guys do when these are generally announced, they run from anywhere from 120 to 150, I believe. But if you wait about a month and a half, they usually drop to like $90, $80 on Amazon. That's what I pick. I'll just put them in my cart, leave them there, and they tell you when they drop.
1,300 pages. Wow.
Yeah. I got this one for $90.
That's awesome. Well, good call out, man. That's actually really cool.
Yeah.
That's really fun. I should run through those one day. I don't know where I'd store them.
Do you ever consider like jumping in the? I know, like for you, the Star Wars Legends books, it's going to be something that's like to-do list, but I know you just don't have all the time in the world to do that. But as far as the comic books go, they're more digestible. Have you ever like considered it?
I have, absolutely, and it's a great way to do it in those kind of larger packages. Like you said, I mean, I find myself competing between so many different.
Right.
It's like we have new Star Wars books. You know, we have old Star Wars books I haven't read. We have other fantasy books I like, other sci-fi books I like. So it's like it's so hard to balance your time. Video games and making videos and watching Star Wars. It is, I don't man, without audiobooks, I mean, seriously, I would not be able to really read any books. I really wouldn't. I wouldn't. I wouldn't at all. So
yeah.
At the end of the day, man, it's only so many time. And we talk about it all the time. It's hard to spend all your time on Star Wars just because there's so few hours.
You got to
in the
be
day.
choosy, man.
You got to be choosy.
Yeah.
And again, guys, as we're wrapping up tonight, it's about to be a really big spring. We got Bad Batch wrapping up. We got Mandalorian next month. Ben, it's like less than a month away, man. I can't believe it's that quick.
It's like never-ending Star Wars.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And then May the 4th is going to roll in with Vision Season 2, which, by the way, our stream is back up where we talk about every single studio. It's a long stream. It was taken down because of copyright claim. It's back up, though. So feel free to watch that and check it out and tell us your thoughts. We're very excited for this year. We're going to have a great time. I hope you guys are here to enjoy it with us and continue to give us your thoughts. We're going to wrap it up here tonight, guys. Thanks so much for being here. Jimmy will be back next week when the wind is down.
Thank you, folks.
Until then, guys, see y'all again